I think Cortez is being very disrespectful to somebody that's been there a long time. I deal with Nancy Pelosi a lot, and we go back and forth, and it's fine. But I think that a group of people is being very disrespectful to her.
That's, of course, Donald Trump showing the world that while he hates Nancy Pelosi, he despises freshman Democrats like Representative Ocasio-Cortez more. And he's decided to chime in on the back and forth that we've been seeing between Nancy Pelosi and freshman Democrats. It all started last week, actually, but things really started to ramp up this week when Maureen Dowd published her interview with Pelosi. And in that interview, she did, in fact, attack freshman Democrats by saying, all of these people have their public whatever in their Twitter world, but they didn't have any following, they're for people. So essentially minimizing the impact of people like Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, you get the picture, Rashida Tlaib. So Pelosi's been really frustrated and angry at the fact that these women did not agree or sign on to the appropriations bill that gave Trump $4.6 billion in taxpayer money for border patrol and border security. They didn't want to hand over that money unless there were protections and improvements for migrants who are being detained. But Pelosi decided to go ahead and sign off with no strings attached. But she did write him a strongly worded letter after giving him the money he wanted. Anyway, before we go to more video on this, I want to open this up to you guys.
I mean, can we just say that I don't think Trump is playing 7D chess? But now I kind of do. Like, Trump siding with Pelosi is a total 7D chess move to piss off Democrats. Like, ooh, and then it gets worse as we're gonna look at it. But I also will say that you saw his little lizard brain there as he was like, you have a, don't say women of color, don't say young, hot, I wouldn't throw him out of bed, like, group of people. Like, you can see him trying to police himself, like, oh wait, you have a group of people who are mad at Pelosi, which I think shows progress. Like, yeah, your racist uncle, maybe he can make this not about race or gender.
You know, all it does is reinforce the beliefs that I have when I talk about politicians on both sides of the aisle who are working for a check as opposed to the people. And now that we've gotten down to the nitty gritty, and they see that AOC is who she says is who she says she is, and those other three women are actually walking that walk. Now people are starting to really get uncomfortable because they are not negotiable. They didn't come here to play that game. They came here to make a change. And so, of course, the pushback is gonna come back from somebody. No, she doesn't, they're not just four of them. There are millions of people who follow Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I'll tell you what, I talked to several Trump supporters when I was on my last tour, and so many of them said, I like that woman because yes, they were like, I think that woman actually means what she's saying. And I never thought I never expected to hear that from someone who supports Trump. I'm also really tired of the jealousy and you get it,
cattiness.
You feel it that you get from other women, especially older women, pushing back on younger women and questioning their value, questioning their intelligence, questioning their importance and significance,
or their
and
Twitter or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's downright, it's so divisive, and it is part of the problem that women have as a whole. And so I just think they're scared because these women came to play. They didn't.
Yeah, that you're absolutely right. And there is this, the sense that I get is that certain members of Congress are irritated that these young women have been elected into Congress and they're not playing by these long established rules. And you're right, look, I mean, just think of yourself in your late 20s. I mean, who would want to be in this mess in your late 20s? You're
Absolutely.
Right, she's not there to play. No one at that point in their lives is there to play. You're there to get stuff done. And I get the sense that Pelosi just doesn't want to have to deal with that, doesn't want to have to deal with pushback within her own party. But let's watch the longer version of what Trump had to say, because the level of hypocrisy and the irony of what he's saying really stands out. Take a look.
Cortez should treat Nancy Pelosi with respect. She should not be doing what she's doing. And I'll tell you something about Nancy Pelosi that you know better than I do. She is not a racist, okay? She is not a racist. For them to call her a racist is a disgrace.
Okay, so for them to call her a racist, did Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez call Donald Trump a racist? I don't know. I think this next video is very, very relevant to the discussion. Let's take a quick look.
It's singling out 4 individuals. And knowing the media environment that we're operating in, knowing the amount of death threats that we get, knowing the amount of concentration of attention, I think it's just worth asking why.
Do you think she has racial animus? Is she racist?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. So what?
No, but please, Mr. President, jump in and defend Nancy Pelosi for not being a racist, because that makes her look so good. Hey, she really wants your anti-racist endorsement, as do all the other people who he's called not racist, who most definitely have Nazi memorabilia. Which is obviously not Pelosi, but it's just, again, so wonderful, because for me, the thing about the New York Times article in which Pelosi, says that these 3 young congresswomen or more than that young congresswomen have their Twitter following, et cetera, was a different part. And that was the part where she said that Donald Trump privately thanked her for not impeaching him. And then she said, well, and I don't care about that. But no, you do care about that.
She does.
And you guys have an agreement there, which is pretty much, and you can see that Trump just, in the way that he knows how, defended you. Because if she was going to impeach him, of course he wouldn't be that kinder. He would side with AOC. He'd be like, you know what? I do think these young women of color really need to be supported. No. There's an agreement at the highest levels here.
That's what they do. I think it's funny that he has this, if you're fluent in subtext and you pay attention to Donald Trump, it's like, we all know she's no racist, because I know what a real racist is, right? Like, I got that down. I just think it's this underlying message of stay in your place. How dare you? Who do you think you are?
You know what doesn't play well with young people, young voters? People in their 70s wagging their finger and saying, I think these young people need to respect their elders.
Yeah.
Especially elders who refuse to actually do something in the leadership role that they have the privilege of serving in. And you're absolutely right, Francesca. I mean, you have Nancy Pelosi, who has shown an incredible level of weakness that, quite honestly, I was even naive about. Like, I knew that establishment Democrats were a little timid. I knew they were a little afraid and that Republicans came out stronger. They were a little more risky in the way that they approached politics in a strategic way. But Nancy Pelosi has cowered at the face of Trump. I mean, completely cowered, even as that Mueller report came out and showed specific examples of Trump attempting to obstruct justice.
How her advisors actually were advising impeachment.
Right.
And I just want to say, in terms of this border spending bill, I know we're gonna talk about this later, but let's just look at which of the Democrats have done something about the crisis on the border. Who's gone there? Has Nancy Pelosi been? No. Yeah. She's got other things going on. But you have all these young freshman congresswomen, congresspeople, but mostly women, right? All these women who are going to the border, who are looking these mothers in the face who've lost their children. They're making space and time. And then you have Nancy Pelosi, who is signing this border bill to spend even more money on the border because somehow we can't find soap. Wow, we need millions and millions of more because we can't find soap. And so Nancy Pelosi says the following: I've got moderate Democrats who are pushing me from the right. That is fine. She said it was painful for her to sign that border spending bill. That is fine. So what? What are you gonna do if you push back on those moderate Democrats and say, you know what? Go to the Republican Party. You know what? Where's your base?
Yeah.
Those fools aren't going to the right. They're not gonna cozy up to Trump. Like, I can't name the names, you guys probably know, but it's like, I don't know who we're talking about here.
So is she trying to appease Joe Manchin? Like, who is she trying to appease?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who she's trying to appease. All I know is she operates from this mindset of fear because she's worried that anything she does will be politically unpopular.
Right.
But
then we don't need her in office. We need somebody who's going to push back. And I'm really tired of us celebrating people for being better than bad. You know what I mean? The bar is so low on the left. Like we remember that clapping moment. Everybody was like, "Well, she's badass." No, what's the follow-up? Where are we going from here? Absolutely. All that we did that standoff and we did all of that for media attention, but what happens next?
Exactly.
I don't want to see that anymore. We keep doing that like, oh, look, when somebody does something they're supposed to do, we praise them so much. The right does not do that. The right is like, they ride or die with and they want more, and you gotta go till the wheels fall off for what they believe in.
If Nancy Pelosi were a leader and actually understood the amount of power that she has. Now, first keep in mind that the media loves her, right? I mean, Maureen Dowd even wrote about how she presented Pelosi with a box of chocolates during the interview. I mean, it like blew my mind.
Let her eat home fries off her own plate.
Yes. Yes,
wow,
like
I don't even do that with my boyfriend.
The media is very friendly to Pelosi, which means if Pelosi decides that she wants to do a press conference as part of a political strategy, they would cover it, believe me. Yeah. So if I were in Pelosi's shoes, and I've said this before, I just want to reiterate it, I would do a press conference every day in regard to that appropriations bill, and I would say to the American people, the majority of whom are not in favor of what's happening to these children in these detention centers, and I would say, look at the Trump administration. They want $4.6 billion of your taxpayer money. Yeah. This is your hard-earned money. They want that money and they want to throw it at this mistreatment and this abuse of minors and migrants in these detention centers. I'm not gonna sign off on that unless the appropriation bill has these safeguards and these improvements for these migrants.
Absolutely.
She could have easily done that. Right? You make them bend to your will. You embarrass them and you call them out on the fact that they're inhumane. But she doesn't have that fight in her.
But you know what? That's the thing about her, that the reason these people praise her is because for that generation of people, that was being revolutionary, right? So now you have a new generation of people who have come along that say, we gotta go to the next level. And so there's this generational fight between people and ideologies. And the truth is that we have to have conversations because that is not enough anymore. That is not enough anymore. Yes, she's a powerful woman, one of the most powerful women in the world, right? But what are you gonna do with that power? Because the people who are nagging you, that you are annoyed by, are just asking for the fundamental things that we are supposed to be getting as citizens of this country.
Right, exactly. The reality has changed. Your work is no longer needed. Thank you. Like your time is done. The center will not hold, and the status quo is falling apart at the seams.
Exactly, and you're not resistance if you're literally enabling Trump by giving him what he wants in regard to funding and the support at the border. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I will also say that I think that it's really disingenuous. I mean, there was a great satirical article written in McSweeney's, I remember, that was basically like, I support women of color as long as they're not to the left of me. And it was great, and the whole thing, and I think Democrats really do this a lot, which is we will support women and women of color and people from the margins and representation, identity politics, yes queen. Oh, ooh, you're criticizing Israel? Ooh, you want us to actually not sign this border spending bill? Nah, Oh, you're
challenging
you're challenging me at all? No. And so that's when this support, and we saw it so blatantly with the lack of support for Ilhan Omar. Nancy Pelosi had a very tepid tweet about, all the words that were misconstrued when Ilhan Omar said something about 9/11, right? And instead of kind of outwardly supporting her and saying, this woman is under attack, you're attacking her, you're misconstruing her words, she did not mean that. She takes this sort of both sidesness. Well, 9/11 sacred, and I think that we should all, I don't even know what she said. It was just
she's weak. That's what she is. At the end of the day, she's weak and she's unwilling to fight.